Right, going live now. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Agenda's first live chat. Today we have Natasha Joseph with us, and we'll talk a little bit more about Natasha. We'll get to know Natasha today. All right, just to introduce myself, I am Delise Francis, the one of the co-founders of Agenda Audio. Agenda Audio, pretty much, if you have not heard of it before, it's a group that was formed. Local people, Trinidad and Tobago nationals, to create a female centric space that fosters and promotes the collaborative creativity, empowerment, education, equity, awareness, and create opportunities for women and girls in the audio and AV industry, as well as other technical fields in the associated parts of the AV industry. So, our main focus is education, empowerment, and awareness. All right, we are on social media on at Agenda Audio on all social media, so you can find us there. So introducing our first guest, who's Natasha Joseph. I will go straight into it and read her bio, and it's a pretty impressive bio. So Natasha Joseph is an arranger, composer, and producer. She has been an ambassador for the Steelpan, representing Trinidad and Tobago in many countries, such as the USA, London, and Japan. Tobago Jazz, Barbados Jazz, St. Lucia Jazz, and the Grenada Jazz Festivals. After placing second in the Panorama J Soloist Skills Competition in 1993, Natasha went on to join the Panas Players and toured extensively with the group. Panas won the Sunshine Award in 1997 for Best Recording by a Steel Pan. A self taught musician, Natasha has shared the stage with many local and international jazz artists such as Len Bugsy Sharp, Ken Professor Fillmore, Elon Parley, Chantal Esdell and Moyen, Michael Boothman, Clive Zander, the late Ralph Robinson, Arturo Tapin of Barbados, Joe Bayon, Kim Waters of the USA, Jeremy Ledbetter of Canada, Alexis Barrow of Cuba, Charlie Sepulveda, Fidel Morales, and Gabriel Rodriguez of Puerto Rico, and is currently a member of Ilan Pale. Wow, that was a mouthful. In 2012, she received her diploma in recording engineering and production from the Audio Institute of America. A well known drill master, Natasha has brought Phase 2 Pangroove to victory in 2013 and 2014 and placed second and and second place in 2015 in the National Panorama competition. She has worked with Len Bugsy Sharp for 10 years as a drill master. Natasha is the current arranger for Platinum Steel Orchestra, an all female single pan band who placed ninth in the National Panorama 2016. In 2017, she worked as drill master for MHTL Starlift and helped them secure seventh place in the National Panorama Finals. In 2015, she founded the improvisational approach masterclass called Music Gym. She is a current member of the National Philharmonic Orchestra, where she plays steel pan and orchestral percussion. Natasha graduated in January 2021 from the University of the West Indies with a Bachelor of Music degree, first class honors, and is also a music instructor with the Multicultural Music Program Unit, MMPU, out of the Ministry of Education. So whoa, that was a that was a quite a bit and a very impressive bio. So let me bring Natasha to the stage one time. So Natasha, if you could turn on your camera because I'm not seeing you as yet. Lovely. All right, so let's jump straight into discussion. All right, so Natasha, this was an
Hi,
impressive bio.
thank you, thank you.
So first of all, thank you for agreeing to be with us today and take some time out of your busy schedule to come here, line with us, chat with us, and for us to get to know about you. Especially, I think we celebrated Steelpan Day, I
Yeah,
think Wednesday.
yeah, yeah. Wednesday
Yes.
was World Steel Pan Day, and the whole month of August is Steel Pan month.
Nice. So it's very fitting that we have you as our very first guest on Agenda Audio's chat. All right. So
Thank you.
first
I'm
question.
very honored to be here.
Nice. So after reading your bio, you said you were a self-taught musician, and that struck me like, wow, this is a self-taught musician. So I want to know what made you come into music, as well as why steel pan.
Um, what made me come into music? I think, um, well, the truth is, I didn't come into music. Music kind of pulled me in. I was always, um, from very young, always attracted to anything creative and musical. So, I used to watch a show called Fame, which is kind of like the old school Glee, right? And so everybody was either you're singing or you're dancing or you're playing an instrument. Um, and that did have some influence, but as a child, I just kept listening to like every piece of music I heard, I'd focus more intently. At that time, had no idea what I was doing. It's only as an adult when I look back on those days, I was like, wait, no, you know, I was really very focused, um, and so it was kind of just natural. I'm born into a family with high oral tradition. So my grandparents on my mother's side, they were into Orisha, and so things like drums was always a part of the household, was something natural. Um, and how I really started to play music was actually with two spoons on my mother banister. I carved out a nice little V shape in her banister because every evening I would come out and literally just be playing drums on her banister for hours. That was my evening pastime until one day she brought home a recorder and I started playing that by ear. Um, and then some years later, I got the books that came with the recorder, and I taught myself how to read music from there. And
So
after that, it just kept going. Learning more and more.
right, right. So you were one of those children who, when the neighbors pass, they always making noise, they always
Yeah,
blowing the recorder. Right. Okay,
yeah. I
okay.
was one of those. I would play with the radio and stuff
Wow.
like that.
That
Yeah,
is
I didn't know
impressive
what the
though.
name of the notes were because I got the recorder before I got the book. So, I had like ABC. One note was H, one note was R.
Oh, I'm sure if you could talk to your younger self, you would tell them there's no H. No, but that's excellent to know because I never knew you were self-taught. Because I think the first time I actually saw you live was 2 year no, it could have been the at the beginning of the pandemic. I think I saw you with Chantal Esdell and Moyen
Yes,
in
yes,
in that place in Woodbrook. And
yeah,
I was
Ethnic Jazz
blown
Club, Jazz
away.
Studio. Yeah,
Yes, yes. And it was an excellent show. And what made it extra special for me was that it was a very small crowd. Y'all were catering to small crowds at a time. Like so
yes,
I think 10 or 20 maximum.
yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that was really good. So tell
yeah.
us about music, Jim, because what one of the things that has always impressed me with you is your ability to improvise, which is something I was never fully able to get as a musician. So tell us about music, Jim, and your journey from, like, how musicians are taught, and they're taught in this kind of classical
Hmm.
way, and that kind of thing. So tell us about your explorations with improvisation and the founding of Music Gym.
Okay, so um, when you're self-taught, it it kind of is a lot of discovery learning. Um, when I started to play pan, I was 15 years old, going to school in Malik Secondary, and I wanted to be just like my plumbing teacher. I didn't do music in secondary school, and so the course that I was doing was plumbing, and my teacher happened to be a musician as well, and he was a really great example of what a musician should be like. So I aspired to be like him. Um, so within my first few months of playing pan, I was interested in arranging, and one of my neighbors is a musician, and I went to him and I was like, Ashiba, um, do you know what's the chords for 1990? I had At that time I had no idea what a chord was, um, and he wrote out the chords to me, and he just gave me a short explanation, and just from that one song, after that I could have make any chord. I understood completely what to do, and I started arranging songs all by myself in school. I have everything in my head and just play all the parts on all the pans. Um, and from after school time, which would have been that was 1991. In 1992, I joined Potential Symphony, um, and they were going to Panoramagy. Right now, everybody knows Panoramagy. That's the competition that they have, and that in that time was for Assam's 10 member ensemble
Right.
and soloist. They had a soloist category and so on. And I joined Potential Symphony, but I was already a member. Sorry, but I went to Panoramagy with them.
Uh,
Um, and one of the criteria for being allowed to play in the band was the ability to improvise, and that was something at the time that I had never done as yet. So
wow.
when first night I see them practicing, I went and I was like, hey, I want to play. And it's like, no, 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 we the band full. We don't need any other members. I was like, all right. But I was persistent. So
Right.
I would hang around, keep a timing on the drums. And every so often I'd be like, hey, let me play. I can play. And they'd be like, no, 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 we good, we good. And then one night I asked, and Johan Popwell, who was one of the arrangers at the time, he was like, what we want is somebody who could represent the band and improvise. And I was like, oh, that's what you want? Okay. I sat down the next day. I worked out the chords of the song. I made up my lines from a solo, whatever's here in my head. And I went back. I did that on a tenor at home. Went back to the panyard in the evening, and I played it on a 4 pan for them, and that was it. I was
Wow.
accepted.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So that's
You're bringing me
my
to shame as a musician here. So we have a comment about a question. Janine Ruiz wants to know how old were you when you were auditioning for the band?
for for
For
potential.
yes.
I would have just turned 16, so
Wow.
I would have probably been playing pan for about a year or so.
Okay, okay. All right. So I'm officially not calling myself a musician anymore, just so you know.
Why?
And Amanda says some are just born with it, and that is very true. Some people are just born with it naturally. And I think you were definitely one of those who were born with that musical skill within you.
Yeah,
So,
I
mm,
think I inherited a lot of it from my family.
right,
My dad, he was a panist, and a very skilled one.
right,
And my
right.
grandmom, on my mom's side, she was a choir mistress.
Oh,
So
so music
music
was
was in my
basically in your
blood.
blood. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely, it's in your blood. So from the age of 16, I could say you could say that you have, well, 15, because you started from a year before that.
Yeah.
You could say you have grown definitely as a musician. And in your bio, you said that you were a drill master. I know you to be a drill master, and drill master for, let me see, phase two. So it's big names, huh? Only big names she's calling here. I hope y'all are taking notes. So what is it like? Tell us about being a drill master, especially being a woman drill master, because I'm not sure how many female drill masters there are in Trinidad and Tobago.
There are few. There are few. More than
Right.
before. You know, when
Okay.
I started, there wasn't much. But we have Avis Bruce, Chanel Abraham. She's also an arranger.
Okay.
Um, some names are escaping me at the moment. But for my experience as a female drill master, um, all I can say is that, every opportunity brings a lesson. So um, I learned a lot of things as a drill mistress. Um, and, it's not easy as a female, um, when you have, like, especially a band like Phase 2. Now, what helped me as a drill mistress in Phase 2 is that I used to play in Phase 2 for a couple of years, like from 98 to 2001, I think. I played Panorama with them. So I was familiar with the culture of the band. People knew me. Most of the older heads in Phase 2 knew me. And still, when Bugsy asked me, I was like, gasp, did like I had to give myself a pep talk before going there.
Right. Yeah.
And you just had to keep your wits about you all the time, because first thing is, oh, this woman coming to tell me what to do, kind of
Right.
attitude,
It's
you
probably
know.
very intimidating as well.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
but you learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
you
True.
know,
So
is
what would you
is
say?
a delicate balance, I would say.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, what would you say are some of the more important things, let's say characteristics about yourself that you had to display, or anyone who's in a leadership position, like being a drill master? Because I see that that's definitely a leadership position. So what are some characteristics that you think, as a female especially, that you need to have for being in a leadership position where it's kind of male dominated industry?
The biggest one would be confidence. You must be confident in whatever you're doing. Um, and it can't be like a pseudo confidence. You had to really, as I say, I had to give myself a pep talk. People don't like to see, um, you know, like if you're not sure what you're doing or whatever. So a big thing is confidence, patience with both with yourself and the members of the orchestra. What else, boy? I think those two are the biggest.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. You definitely need, and confidence is a big, big one. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that thing where they say fake it till you make it,
yeah,
that comes in
yeah,
very, very
yeah.
prominent there.
And you have to be able to, you have to have your wits about you, like
Yeah.
all the time. You can't slip because you know.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And as a female especially, and I've had this conversation with a few women, Amanda being one of them, who's on the chat right now listening. There have been instances where, or has there? I'll ask you this question: has there been any instances where you may not have known exactly what to do in a situation, or that you felt intimidated by, especially the guys, as you said, because this girl come in here to tell me what to do.
Mhm.
So have you been in any position
I've
like
been
that?
in many positions where I was challenged, so I was
Right.
always challenged by some one or group of persons. And in those moments, there's nothing you could do but rise to the challenge.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you
Definitely
just
agree.
remember that you are who you are and you're
Right.
completely good at what you do,
Mm,
and stick to your
yeah.
guns.
That is very important. I like that. Going with guns blazing.
Yeah,
Nice, nice. So you also mentioned that you are an instructor with the multicultural music program, and I've actually worked there in the past. I think we just missed each other.
nice.
We had a
Yes,
short overlap. And it's
yeah.
weird because Natasha and I've known Natasha for a few years, but looking on in amazement to this musician who I can never be. But I've encountered her in different things, in UE. I think we
Yeah,
bounced up year before, and as well
yeah.
as in the MMPU. So what is it like being an educator and being an educator in Trinidad and Tobago, especially? Tell us about that.
Well, I love teaching. I love being a music educator. I've been an educator since age 17. Started teaching in St. Andrews, St. Andrews Private School. After that, I had some private students for years. Um, Actually, I had private students up until just recently when I joined MMPU. So I love being a music educator. I love teaching children because they are just some lovely little sponges. They soak
Mhm.
up everything that you give them, and I am happy to be in a position to get them in that time when they could be molded to be the best musicians possible.
Right. Yeah, and I can tell you have definitely been teaching primary school, not secondary school. When you
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
they're lovely little minds that need soaking up
yeah.
until
Yes,
they
I
get to
teach in
secondary
primary
school.
school. We have lots of fun.
Yeah,
Because my classes have never been orthodox. Like,
right.
um, being self-taught, my students taught me how to teach. So every new student, I noticed, they was learning differently. So I would
Yeah.
adjust every time. So
Hmm.
after doing that for about 10, 15 years, you develop this whole library of different ways to teach different people. And
Right.
that just was compounded when I went to UE and learned music education and realized, hey, there's a name for what you've been doing.
Yep.
You have Dark Crows with Eurythmics, Kodai,
Hmm.
Suzuki, and all of those are different music educators that had different methods and approaches to teaching music.
Nice, nice. And we have Al Belfon saying, here's one adult that is blessed to have her teach me. So yes,
Yes, that
nice,
is that
nice.
is one of my students. Hi, Anne.
It's always nice when you encounter past students. It's not so nice when you see them as grown adults. You feel a little old. Just this morning, I had an incident. I went to the bank and this girl was like, "You taught X school?" I was like, "Yep." I was like, "She's like, you taught me in Form 1." I'm like, "Okay, I feel old now, but it's nice to see you anyway."
I'm always surprised to see my students as adults now. It's like, wait, when did
Yeah.
that happen?
Exactly. They grow so fast, but it's always nice to see when you have a student, especially one that used to give trouble, and they come and
Yeah,
say, "Miss, I'm doing a degree in music now." That
yeah,
I think is
that
the
is
most special
awesome.
thing. Yes, yes. All right. So you are a musician mainly. I would say mainly. I
Yes.
also saw that you went to where is that? I'm looking through. I'm scrolling through her bio because it's so long. I have to find Ah, in 2012, you received your diploma in recording engineering and production from the Audio Institute of America. Now, I want
Yes.
to ask you, how has that diploma influenced, or has it in any way influenced your life as a musician?
Most definitely. The reason I went and got that diploma is because, after playing pan for some years, I realized that you know, there was sometimes a miscommunicate or a lost in translation between performer and engineer, especially in live situations. And so I thought to myself, and it's something I always aspire to do because as a younger person, um, I produced a lot of different kinds of music, different genres, mainly hip hop. But I also did some soca and stuff like that. But um, back to what I was saying before, um, I really wanted to understand more about that so that, you know, I could say exactly what I wanted in a live situation, working with an engineer, rather than say it's something too tingy or it's something too pongy or I
Right,
want
right.
more boom, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right. It gives you
So
better control over your sound.
exactly. So it has helped greatly. And my thesis for well, my thesis for my bachelor's was actually about not recording, miking the double seconds, you know. So I interviewed a lot of engineers, tuners, and players about their varied miking techniques, and why it works and why it would work in a particular way and what could be done better. And in doing this research study, I realized a lot about the sound of the pan, or why is it hard it's so hard to capture is because of the physics of the instrument, so
Right.
I think that the pan itself, you know we didn't reach where we could finally reach in terms of the innovation of the instrument. We have
Yeah.
only just begun.
Because I agree. I definitely agree. And we have a lot of potential, a lot of untapped potential. But
Yeah.
I think we're heading in the right direction though.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
plus having a diploma in engineering, I could put on my own beat and give it a rough mix myself.
Yeah.
I understand signal processing and EQ and all those kind of things.
Right.
So you kind of cut cost in some ways.
Yeah, in some ways, yes, and this is what Agenda Audio is about because we want to help empower women like yourself as well as younger women. Because when I was going to school, UTT was not in existence. Kind
Yeah.
of revealing my age there a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But now there's so many opportunities to learn about, especially the technical side of audio and music and audio visual. So we can help ourselves and be in a better position to say this is the sound
Hmm.
that I want, and I know what I'm speaking about when I go into the studio. Instead of being spoken and mansplained to, as they say.
Yes.
So
And now seeing Janine saying mic and pans properly has always been challenging. Yes, because of the
yes.
amount of frequencies and harmonics. Yes,
Hmm.
of course, yes, yes, and yes. And in my
That,
study, I made a discovery. Um, this steel pan innovator Jimmy Phillip, he makes a stand that is like a snare stand. So instead of hanging the instrument, we rest the tenor pan on the stand, just like you would a snare. And what it does is it kills some of the harmonics and overtones that you would get in the skirt of the instrument, which it takes down the noise by at least 40%.
wow, you see, this is
I
where the
used it in
educator
the
comes in.
studio and it had a much purer tone than when we leave the pan hanging on the
Right.
stand. So
Well, you
yeah.
see, I did not know that. That would be something interesting to try. And you
Oh,
did say you were an educator.
definitely. Kyle Noel
Uh-huh.
from Siparia.
Right.
Yeah, Kyle Noel from Siparia. He uses that stand as well. He rests
Wow.
his pan on a stand. Earl Rodney
Hmm.
also, he does not hang his pans, and it has a very different tone.
See,
Has a
I
very
learned
different
something.
tone.
I learned something. And this is like, because Natasha and I met previously just to make sure, do a test and everything, make sure everything is up and running smoothly. And in
Yeah,
that short time that I met with you, I learned something. I
sweet.
forgot the name of the pan already, but I learned
Ah,
something.
yes, the tone fountain.
Yes, yes, I have never in the history of my musician life, I've never heard of that. And I was embarrassed. I was like, okay, well, I definitely cannot call myself a musician anymore. But I mean, just interacting with you, it's always good to learn something new, you know? So I know you prepared a PowerPoint, just talking about the different careers in music that you
Yes.
presented to a secondary school, was it? Or
Yeah,
primary school?
Barrackpore Secondary.
Right. So we're going to present that for you all today. And we want to, as we said, we are focused on education. So this is the educational part of it. So let me just go
Yeah,
to share screen. Hope I get this correct because I ran through this a few times and it was still giving a little trouble. All right. So
awesome.
let me know if you're seeing that.
Yes,
Because,
it
okay,
is coming
lovely.
out loud and clear.
All right. So you direct me. So Charisma, I will go to the next slide and you will take over
Yes,
from here.
yeah. But this is just our cover page. So
Right.
nice. So the first career we have here is performer instrumentalist, and basically a performer um, could be formally trained or not, must be a master of the craft. You could be a part of a band or a solo performer. Um, in the picture we have here, um, the the guy at the top with the drums, that's Lionel Lewis, Canadian born drummer. He plays with Snacky Puppy, and he also plays with the Canadian Steelpan Pan Fantasy. Below him, we have Trinidadian Janine Beek, and she sings opera. That's her career. So it have much more to performer than just um, a rapper or a reggae artist or a soca artist. You could be an opera singer.
Yep. Yep.
They could go to the next slide.
All right.
Then we have one of the more popular jobs, music teacher. Um, Music teachers teach at all levels from beginner all the way up to tertiary level. We don't really call them teachers at the tertiary level. We more call them lecturers, and they facilitate what we learn. Um, and if you ever want to teach at the tertiary level, it would be important to um, acquire a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. Next slide. And next job is the music therapist. Now, music therapists must have both a degree in music and psychology, a knowledge of different physical and mental conditions, and knowledge of drug interactions. Um, the goal of music therapy is to achieve objectives that meet the needs of individuals. So, is to help people heal through the power of music. Next slide. Here we have instrument technician. So, an instrument technician is basically somebody who is skilled in fixing instruments, and they usually specialize in one area. So, somebody who fixes guitars may not know how to fix a drum kit unless they are multi instrumentalists who've had many years, doing tech in all these different instruments. But they generally specialize in one area. They either do strings or they do drums and so on. Next slide. All right, so here we have come to one job that we know um, we see. Well, I would say we don't have enough of these, but this is indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago. It started here. So we have a steel pan builder or tuner, right? So a steel pan builder um, is somebody who prepares the pan. And as you can see in the pictures, Um, the guy that you seen in the pictures, that is Tuna Augustus Peters. He made my low A tenor and also my low E double seconds. And he does it with a team, so he doesn't build the pan. He has somebody to prepare the pan for him, and then he would come and fine tune it, set the notes and all of that. Long ago, the tuner used to do everything himself. Now they work in teams, which works very well, means they're able to produce at a faster rate and stuff like that. Next slide.
Mhm.
Here we have Steelpan innovator or inventor. Now the guy you seen in the picture on the left, he's also a steel pan tuner, right? Steel pan innovator is basically a tuner or builder who experiments with trying to improve the known limitations. So in this picture, you'll notice that this tenor pan looks quite different
Mm.
because it is, right? It's called a porta pan, and it was made specifically for transport, you know, to make it lighter to transport, um, and also, it lighter to transport to take up less space, so you have more room to pack more pans. It has a really nice sound, and one of the things that this porta pan eliminates is skirt noise because it doesn't have a skirt per se.
Right. Yeah.
There is a rigid something that is holding the note, the face of the pan together, you know. But I had the pleasure of playing it with Jimmy some years ago when our class visited with Dr. Remy. That was awesome. And
I can
if you
imagine.
notice, those pans at the top of the image, those are what he called those two-face bass. So in a single pan band, most of the basses they could only facilitate 5 notes. We limited to G, A, C, D, and E in most single pan bands. This particular invention allowed on each side to have 3 notes. So you got an extra note, and you
Mm-hmm.
was able to get a lower range of notes too. You understand? And the band in the picture, that's New Age Trendsetters. Next slide.
Mm.
We also have Steelpan Innovator on the technological side. So this is Professor Brian Copeland, who's the current principal of UE. He was instrumental in inventing the G-pan, the electro pan, and the percussive harmonic instrument, also known as the Phi. Not all by himself. He had a group of persons that he worked with out of Paradigm. And the Phi, well, the Phi is a MIDI controller. So when I had one that I was beta testing, I would use it mainly to make my backing tracks because
Mm.
I was horrible at piano. So I would hook it up MIDI into my computer and play everything on the Phi like if it was a pan. And
Wow.
and yeah. But that's the Phi. Next slide. So this next pan is called a tone fountain. If you notice, the skirt of this pan is different. The guy in the picture who is showing the the little boy something on the pan, that is the inventor. His name was Denzel Hernandez. He passed away last year. And the tone fountain is just one of his inventions. He has had many, many inventions and innovative things over the years. The tone fountain is the only one, not the only one. Sorry, there's another pan which I do not remember the name of. Um, that he actually invented a way where you could make the notes resonate and sustain without using the pan sticks. You use a piece of resin on the edge of the pan and it would just vibrate real smooth. The tone fountain, however, the best characteristic of the tone fountain is its wooden skirt, because that means it has less overtones. And he was so generous to donate all his research on the tone fountain to me when I interviewed him for my thesis last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So next slide. Let's see where are we. Right. Here we have arranger. Now, arranger is somebody who adapts musical compositions to new styles. They study music theory, notation. They arrange and orchestrate music for an entire orchestra or ensemble. One important thing is having knowledge of the range and the range of each instrument and the limitations of each instrument. Um, Now there are many different types of arrangers. So it could be arranger for a brass band, um, a rock band, a reggae band. In Trinidad, we have Steelpan arrangers. So the guy up on the screen there in that photo, that's Ken Professor Fillmore, who's also a mentor of mine. That's the first arranger that I played under in Potential Symphony in 1992. And also, that was the first band that I was drill mistress of. So
Nice.
Professor was the first arranger that I was a drill mistress for.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Next slide. Here we have music journalists. So music journalists write reviews about concerts, or they do short biographies or features on musicians. Most of them start, writing for like a newsletter or the local papers. Um, well, most of them have college degrees, but not all. Most of them just could write well and understand music as well. Next slide. Yeah, we have songwriter. Um, Now, you can be a songwriter and also a singer. As we seen in this photo here, we have Nadia Batson. She is both a songwriter and a singer. The most One of the more popular songs that she was a writer for, we remember not too long ago, was Hooking Me with Farm and
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that's the only song that she wrote, that people have sung, but that's one of the more, I like that song.
Yeah.
Next slide. You can also be a DJ, right? So here we have DJ Del, our host for this evening. Now, she has um, many titles. So she plays bass guitar in her spare time. She does a little recording, engineering, producing.
I try to
She's
play bass guitar. I try.
I see you playing. All right, she's the technical coordinator at Central Bank Auditorium, and we all know her as the DJ.
Yeah.
All right, next slide. Record producer. Um, so a record producer is, well, I have Dr. Dre here, right? And this is a big job because it's not just about recording a particular song. Um, a record producer is somebody who, supervises, how the album is mixed. He gets artists to sign to the record label. Is a lot of many different hats that a record producer has to wear. And that's a huge job, right? But Dr. Dre is especially skilled because he produces beats. He raps on his own beats. He produces beats for other artists. and then he manages artists under his label. You know, that's a lot. Like, I'm tired just talking about it. So next slide. You could also be a sound engineer, right? Which is somebody who works either in the recording studio or in a concert. Um, so either in a controlled environment or in a live environment. And basically is the person in charge of the soundboard, controls the volume of the entire group, among other things, and has training in electronics from a recordings or broadcasting school. The person in the picture we're looking at right now, that's Kerry Chandler, who just completed her master's in music technology at NYU. And this brings us to the end of music careers in music. There's much more, but you know, it would take us. We'd probably be here all night talking about music careers.
Nice, nice. And I'll interject that Carrie is also one of the co-founders of Agenda. We have some co-founders in the chat as well. Janine is another one. And we have a
Yes.
few more. So but we'll go into that. This is focused on you right now. So thanks for that. I mean, that was very informative, and I think it's a great presentation, especially to take to schools to educate people about careers in music,
Yeah.
because when I was
Yeah.
in school, I remember choosing subjects to go to university. I was like, okay, well, I guess I could be a music teacher. I didn't know like they had so many other
All these
things, you know?
other. That's the thing.
Yeah,
So when I
yeah,
presented it at Barpo, the students were really excited because, again, you know, when they think about music, or sometimes a child might be interested in music, and the first thing people will say is, musician don't make no money,
yeah. True.
you know. So when I came and I was like, well, you could do this, or you could do that, or you could do this, it's like, wow, wait, I think I just might want to do music, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
because we
yeah.
don't
It
know
has a
what's
lot of
out there.
possibilities. Exactly. And there are more things that are being, because with all the inventions, which pretty much happens at a faster and faster pace. You know,
Hmm.
more careers are being created on a consistent
Yeah,
basis.
like
You know,
one career I left out, which I also do, is transcription.
right?
I
Yeah.
transcribe music. Like, the biggest transcription job I had was working with NGC to
Mm,
transcribe the panorama arrangements of the bands that they sponsor for
wow.
archival purposes. You know,
Nice.
and that's a tall order.
That's a big job. That's a,
Yeah, you have to listen to everything, and then you have to notate it
yeah.
for each
Yeah.
section.
Nice, nice. Well, as I said, that was an excellent presentation. And obviously, she couldn't fit
Thanks.
everything into the
No.
presentation, but there's so many more. But those are the basic, the basic things. And you could definitely take that to schools to give them a little insight to the music industry and audio industry in general.
Yeah,
So we're approaching 6 o'clock, and we don't want to make it more than an hour, but I still have a few questions for you.
sure.
So I'll kind of cut it down because we could be here whole night. So one of the things you said, you are attached to, let me find it, the all-female single pan band called
Yes,
Platinum Steel
platinum.
Orchestra. Right. So I want you to tell us a little bit about your experience working with, especially an all-female band.
Well, working with platinum is always a pleasure. Um, Before working with them, I had decided that I was not ever going to arrange for a single pan band ever, ever, never ever. But you know, when they called me and it's like, well, we have this all female band, I was like, what? Where? I come in, you know. Um, um, and over the years, we have, built a environment that is, how to put it, boy, real. We've gotten closer as females. That's not always an easy thing. When you have a whole heap of females in any space, but we've learned over the years how to become a family, and we have a really good and healthy relationship. um, just a couple of months ago, we were rehearsing um, for concerts that Pancho Baker was having, and then well, we had lockdown, so we couldn't complete that. But I enjoy working with Platinum, and I know they like having me as an arranger. I would think. um, but yeah, it has been it's like, as I say, everything is a learning experience,
Right,
and so you learn and you adjust and you learn and you change.
right. And I think that's a good approach to everything in life, you know,
Yeah,
especially with things that you're not too comfortable with or you're still learning about, adjustment and being flexible and open enough for
yeah,
critique is very important, you know.
yeah.
All right, so where do you see yourself, Natasha, in people usually say 5 years, 10 years. But okay, seeing that we have the pandemic still going on, I can't ask you the next year. So let's say in about 3 years, where do you see
Um,
yourself?
to be honest, I I see myself as continuing to do what I do, continuing to mentor people, continuing to inspire people through music. I see myself as a performer. I see myself as a music educator. You know, I have aspirations of recording an album, so look out for that. Um, you know, um, so I would say I see myself not in the same place, but definitely doing the same things on another level.
Right. That's good. I think that's a nice answer. So I mean, it's all about progress. We know that,
Yeah.
definitely about progress. All right. And what advice will you have for women and girls who are interested in entering the music and the audio and AV industry in Trinidad and Tobago, especially?
Um, I would say, I always say, um, you know, whatever you want to do, go for it. Because, you know, if you have support, then that's great. But sometimes we don't always have the support that we think we need. And you just get to believe in yourself and go for whatever you aspire to be. You know, don't allow anybody to discourage you. It will not be easy. It's never just, you know, a easy thing to become anything, but especially in the case of being a musician in Trinidad and Tobago, that also is not easy, but it is not impossible, right? And do aspire to greatness before you develop good form and technique. Like that's the most important thing, being good at what you do before being popular doing it.
Nice, nice. And we have some good comments coming in here. Rona is saying all success to you, Natasha.
Thank you, thank
Van
you.
is also saying the sky is the limit to go big. And I definitely agree. You have to reach and don't even reach for the stars, and it sounds kind of corny after a while, reach for
Yeah,
the stars so you could fall, that kind of stuff. But I'd say just reach for
yeah.
wherever.
Just keep reaching.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And especially we find that in Trinidad and Tobago, sometimes we feel very limited, but
yeah.
the world is not Trinidad and Tobago. Just because
No,
we're here, located here physically, with the
yeah.
internet now, the
I
sky is
was
truly
just
the
about
limit.
to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say we have no limits whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
because once you have a phone, a decent phone, that you could record yourself, you could reach any
Yep.
part of this globe.
Yeah. True. Definitely. And Elizabeth says you need to be your own biggest supporter. That is
Yes, she's
very
right.
important.
That is one of my past percussion lecturers. Hi, Miss.
Nice.
Yeah, she was a great inspiration to me whilst I was in UE. She did a semester with us,
Nice,
and it
nice.
totally changed my perspective on myself. As
Right.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was
And
one
other
powerful
than
semester.
Nice. Other than being your own biggest supporter, I think it's important that women support each other as well, because
Yes,
the general saying that we are our biggest enemy. I don't always find that to be true. But it's important that we support each other and we help uplift each other.
true, true.
So one last thing. Satish says always keep challenging yourself. Yes, Satish, definitely, definitely. That's the one of the most important things for growth. You know.
Yep, yep.
So the last thing I'll leave you with, Natasha. I want to ask you one last question that we always end with in our written interviews, and as well. Well, this is the first live interview, so we're going to end
Hmm.
with it as well. I
Hmm.
want you to finish the sentence. I am.
I am, I am woman. Hear me roar.
I love it. I love it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Nice. So thank you guys, and thank you very much, Natasha, for taking
Thank you
this
for
time
having
to
me.
be with us. Nice. And it was lovely to hear from you, especially as a woman in the Steelpan fraternity. I don't like to call it fraternity, I'll say the
Yes.
Steelpan world. And for being our first guest on our first live chat ever.
Thank you for
So
having me. It was a pleasure being here. I look forward to coming back
yes, you
some
will be
other
back.
time.
You will be back. We definitely have a few live shows planned, some panel discussions coming up. We don't have a schedule yet. We're still developing that. But definitely Natasha will be back to discuss many things with us. As I said, Agenda Audio is focused on the empowerment, awareness, and development of women and girls in the audio industry. So we'll be having a lot of female-centric discussions and female-centric panels, here with us in this space. So like the page, follow us, check out our socials, check out our website, agendaaudio.org, so you can find out more about us. And thank you very much for tuning in and being here and spending this last hour. We spoke for a good hour, right? So
Yeah.
thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. And we will see you very soon. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.